Have you ever felt like, yeah, like there's this wise voice inside you just trying to like guide you, but it's always kind of drowned out by all the noise of everyday life?
Hmm.
Well, today on this deep dive, we're going to be talking about how to tap into that inner wisdom.
Ooh, I like that.
And we're going to be doing it through a story,
Okay.
a captivating story about a young man named Kaido and his journey to find his inner voice.
I love that you're framing this as a journey because it really is.
Yeah.
It's not like you just arrive at a destination, you know?
Right.
It's an ongoing process of self-discovery.
Exactly. And this story takes place in a remote mountain village
Okay.
at a very tranquil monastery where Kaido seeks out the guidance of this wise monk named Master Chun.
The setting itself is pretty interesting, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like the peace and the stillness of the monastery environment immediately kind of hint at what might be needed to connect with that deeper part of ourselves.
For sure.
Where do you go to find quiet?
Yeah, it's like the stage is set for like introspection and contemplation, right? And Master Chen doesn't just jump into like complex rituals or teachings or anything like that.
Right.
He starts by simply instructing Kaido to just observe the monastery garden.
I love that. That's such a powerful first step and something that like anyone can do regardless of, you know, their beliefs or their background.
Yeah.
Just observe, like quieting the mental chatter and becoming more present.
You know, I've noticed that in my own life too.
Really?
When I take the time to actually just observe like my surroundings,
Yeah.
you know, whether it's nature or even just the details of my own home, it helps me feel more grounded and centered.
Oh, for sure. It's like hitting the pause button on that like constant stream of thoughts.
Right.
And just allowing yourself to just be.
Yeah, so Kaido's taking in like all the sights and the sounds, the sense of the garden.
Yeah.
He's starting to, you know, find that sense of stillness.
Mm-hmm.
And then Master Chun throws a curveball.
Oh.
He shares this story about another young monk
Hmm.
who's struggling to hear his inner voice.
Interesting.
And this is where the metaphor gets really interesting.
I'm intrigued.
This story takes place in a cave,
Okay.
dimly lit by like flickering torches with a pool of water at its center.
Okay.
And Master Chun asks this young monk to gaze into the pool
Okay.
and describe what he sees.
Mm.
And at first, all the young monk can see is just like surface reflections. You know, his own image, the flickering light, the cave walls.
Right.
It's like all the distractions and the noise of his everyday life are preventing him from seeing anything deeper.
It's a really powerful image.
Yeah.
The pool becomes a metaphor for the mind.
Right.
We often get so caught up in those surface thoughts and emotions
Yeah.
that we miss that deeper wisdom that lies beneath.
It's like we're constantly bombarded with information and to-do lists and worries and anxieties. And it's no wonder we struggle to hear that quieter voice within.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating is that the young monk in the story is actually able to see past those surface reflections.
Okay, so how does he do that?
I'm hooked. Master Chun tells him to listen. Just listen to the sounds of the cave. You know, the dripping water that echoes the subtle stillness.
Right.
And as he focuses on those sounds, something shifts.
Hmm.
When he looks back into the pool, he sees a totally different picture.
Whoa, that's giving me chills. What does he see?
He sees a vibrant underwater world just teeming with life.
No way.
Fish darting around plants, swaying colors, shimmering. It's this beautiful visual representation of what happens when we quiet the mind's chatter and allow ourselves to actually see beyond the surface.
Okay, so is that the secret? Just listening to sounds?
Right.
Like, I'm trying to imagine how that would translate to, like, my own life.
Well, it's not about literally, you know, listening to sounds in a cave.
Right.
It's about finding ways to cultivate that same stillness and focus, but in our own lives.
Right, it's about finding our own version of that cave, our own way of quieting the mental noise.
Exactly. And that's exactly what Master Chun emphasizes to Kaido.
Okay,
He says, practice mindfulness, cultivate
I
stillness.
like that.
It's about learning to observe your thoughts and your emotions without getting swept away by them.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, like, how do we actually do that in the midst of our, like, busy, chaotic lives?
That's a great question.
Yeah?
And it's something that we'll explore as we continue our deep dive.
Okay.
But before we jump into the practicalities,
Yeah.
let's just pause here for a second
Okay.
and reflect on what we've uncovered so far.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I feel like we've already covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
But I'm eager to dive deeper into the how-tos of finding that inner stillness and connecting with that wise voice within. Okay, so we've established that finding our inner voice requires like stillness and mindfulness.
Right.
But like, how do we actually cultivate those qualities in our, daily lives. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the idea of achieving, complete Zen-like calm.
Oh, yeah, that's a really common misconception.
Yeah.
You don't have to, transform into a meditating monk overnight or anything like that.
Okay, phew. That's reassuring. So what are some of the small steps that we can take?
Well, one of the most, accessible and effective practices, I would say, is meditation.
Okay.
And I know some people might find that word meditation intimidating.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be complicated at all.
Right. You don't have to be sitting on a mountaintop or chanting mantras to reap the benefit.
Exactly. Even just 5 minutes a day can make a difference. Find a quiet spot, sit comfortably, close your eyes, and just focus on your breath.
Okay.
Notice the rise and fall of your chest, the gentle rhythm of your breath.
So what about when my mind inevitably starts to wander?
Oh, yeah.
Which I know it will.
Totally natural.
Yeah.
It's like, training a puppy.
Right.
It takes patience and gentle redirection.
Yeah.
So when you notice those thoughts drifting away, just acknowledge them without judgment and just gently guide your attention back to your breath.
I love that puppy analogy.
Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that.
So besides meditation, are there any other techniques that we can explore?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Deep breathing exercises are another fantastic tool. So when we're stressed or anxious, our breath tends to become really shallow and rapid,
Right.
which actually just exacerbates those feelings even more.
It's like a vicious cycle.
Exactly.
Stress leads to shallow breathing, which leads to more stress. Yeah.
But by consciously slowing down and deepening our breath,
Yeah.
we can actually calm our nervous system and create this sense of tranquility in both body and mind.
So we're talking about taking those deep belly breaths that we often hear about.
Precisely. And the beauty of deep breathing is that you can practice it literally anytime, anywhere. So whether you're stuck in traffic or feeling overwhelmed at work or just need a moment of calm,
Right.
a few deep breaths can work wonders.
Yeah, I'm starting to see a pattern here.
What's that?
Finding these moments of stillness throughout the day.
Yeah.
Whether it's through focused breathing or taking a few minutes to just observe our surroundings.
You're catching on quickly. And speaking of observation, remember how Master Chun emphasized the importance of connecting with nature?
Oh, yeah. He had Kaido spend time in the monastery garden.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Spending time in nature is incredibly grounding.
Yeah.
And it can really help us tune in to our senses and quiet that mental chatter.
I can totally relate to that. Whenever I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed, a walk in the park always helps me feel more centered.
And, you don't need a vast forest to experience those benefits.
Right.
Even a few minutes sitting under a tree, listening to the birds, or simply noticing the plants in your neighborhood can be incredibly restorative.
It's about finding those pockets of nature in our everyday lives and really immersing ourselves in the experience.
Yes. And here's a pro tip.
Okay.
Try engaging all of your senses when you're in nature. Notice the colors, the shapes, the sounds, the scents, the textures.
Okay.
Helps you bring you fully into the present moment.
Yeah.
And quiet the mental noise.
It's like pressing the reset button on your mind, recalibrating your senses.
I like that.
So we've covered meditation, deep breathing, connecting with nature. Any other tools that we can add to our inner voice toolkit?
Ooh, let's see, another powerful practice, and one that I know you really enjoy, is journaling.
Yes.
It's such a fantastic way to process your thoughts and emotions, gain clarity, and even start to identify patterns in your thinking.
I love journaling.
Yeah.
It's like having a conversation with myself on paper.
Yeah.
Sometimes thoughts and feelings just emerge that I hadn't even realized were there.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Journaling can be this powerful tool for connecting with that inner wisdom. And you don't need any fancy prompts or techniques.
Right.
Just start writing whatever comes to mind.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, your feelings, your dreams, your observations. Let it flow freely.
So giving those inner whispers a space to express themselves.
Precisely. And the more you practice, the more you'll start to recognize the voice of your intuition.
Right.
It's like strengthening a muscle.
So we have all these practices, meditation, deep breathing, connecting with nature, journaling. It seems like they all kind of work together to create that inner space where we can finally hear our own wisdom.
Yeah, that's a great observation.
Thanks.
It's not about finding one magic solution.
Right.
It's about weaving these practices into your life in a way that feels authentic and sustainable for you.
It's about creating a tapestry of stillness and self-awareness, drawing from different practices that resonate with us.
I love that.
So now that we've explored the how-tos,
Yeah.
I'm curious about the why.
Okay.
What are some of the benefits that we might experience as we start to connect with our inner voice?
That's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
And there are so many benefits.
Okay.
But I would say one of the most significant is this sense of clarity and purpose.
You mean like knowing what we truly want?
Yes.
And where we want to go in life?
Exactly.
Okay.
When we quiet that external noise and tap into our inner wisdom, we gain this deeper understanding of our values, our strengths, and our passions. It's like this compass guiding us towards a life that feels more aligned with who we truly are.
It's like finally seeing the path that was always there.
Right.
But we were just too distracted to notice.
Exactly.
So it's not just about feeling calmer or making better decisions.
Right.
It's about uncovering a deeper sense of meaning and fulfillment.
You got it.
Okay.
And that brings us to a really crucial aspect of this whole journey.
Okay, what's that?
The connection between listening to your inner voice and finding true happiness.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's delve into that in our final part.
Okay, sounds good.
This is getting really good. We've been talking about finding our inner voice, that source of wisdom within. And I'm really curious about this connection between listening to that voice and finding true happiness.
Yeah, it's a fascinating link. So often we chase happiness as if it's this thing outside of ourselves,
Right.
A promotion, a new possession, a perfect relationship.
I've definitely fallen into that trap myself.
Thinking, if only I had this, then I'd be happy. But it never quite works out that way.
No, it doesn't. Because true happiness doesn't come from external achievements. It comes from aligning with our authentic selves. And that's where that inner voice comes in.
So it's like an internal compass guiding us towards what truly brings us joy.
Exactly. It knows our values, our passions, what makes our hearts sing. When we ignore that compass and chase external validation, we just end up feeling lost and unfulfilled.
Right.
Even if we achieve those goals.
Yeah, it's like we're wandering around aimlessly instead of following the map that's already within us.
But when we start listening to that inner voice, something shifts.
What happened?
We start making choices that actually resonate with our true selves. Even if they're unconventional or challenge societal expectations.
Right.
And those choices, even if they're difficult, lead to a deeper, more sustainable kind of happiness.
It's a happiness that comes from living in alignment with our truth.
Yes.
Rather than trying to fit into someone else's mold. It really resonates with me. It's a powerful realization, and it's available to everyone.
Yeah.
This isn't some exclusive club for monks or spiritual masters or anything like that.
Right.
It's a journey that we can all embark on.
That's so empowering.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
I want them to remember that they have the power to access their own inner wisdom. It's already there waiting to be heard. Cultivate those moments of stillness, whether it's through meditation, nature journaling, and trust the guidance that emerges.
It's about making those small, consistent efforts to connect with that wise voice within.
Yeah.
And over time, those efforts can lead to a profound shift in how we live and experience the world.
Beautifully put. You are the author of your own story, and your inner voice is your most trusted guide.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. I don't know about you, but I feel so inspired to start listening to my own inner wisdom a little more closely. Until next time, keep exploring, keep listening, and keep trusting that inner voice. It's a journey worth taking.